All right, Jay Baba, friends, we are all gathered here to remember dear Theus, who did, who I didn't know him well, but you couldn't go to the Samadhi back then in the 80s without you just coming to love him. He was such the guardian. Is that the word? I don't know. He loved that place. I remember hearing him say that his favorite thing in all the world was to be up there with Gulu and Jalur, who were Kakabad's daughters. So welcome, and I hope you'll share your memories after. I'm going to give a brief. Well, I'm going to show a video of him first of all, and then we'll talk about his lineage. His grandmother met Baba, and then we'll open it up for sharing.
My name is Theus. I heard about Meher Baba 1952 from my grandmother in Sweden. I was 6 years old, and I saw my grandmother was mentioned Meher Baba. That's all I heard as she was going to America to visit him. She has seen him in 1931 and 1932. So, when I was too little, my mother said, so I cannot go, of course. Then, many years afterwards, in 1970, and I had to decide to, if nothing happened to my life, I was in a very dark cloud. If nothing happened now, I will even get rid of this old life of mine and start something new. And that day, when I decided that, there was a telephone call, and there was Elizabeth, there was Jane on the phone, Jane Haynes was on the phone. They were in Stockholm, and they wanted to visit our family. So Jane and Elizabeth showed up, and they talked, and I didn't understand much. I didn't speak English. I spoke German and Spanish that time. And Swedish. So they were all looking at Elizabeth asking, who can I pick? My brother was fully in college. He's about 10 years older than me, man. And my sister was in with her boys and all that stuff. I was a black sheep in the family, virtually. So Elizabeth said, why don't I take Theus over to America and see what he likes it over there, and show him this. She didn't say anything about the center. He said, well, just come with me to Myrtle Beach. So my mother said, okay, fine. We're leaving on your birthday. And that's what the day I decided to get rid of myself. And Baba just cleared it up and said, no, nothing doing here. You just ask a miracle from him. And I went over to America the first time. I was jet lagged and God knows what. And ended up seeing my aunt, lives in New York, used to live in New York, and now she lives in Albuquerque. And my mother wanted me to see America, so we took the bus from New York to Myrtle Beach. It was like 16-hour bus trip. I said, oh God. And Elizabeth comes in the bus station. She's short, and she have a hard time to walk and stuff like that. And she comes to pick us up. This is 1970. 1970, and this is late 70. This late 70. This beginning of September. Yeah, August 24th. So this late August. Say late August. And Baba. We come into Elizabeth's house There's a picture of Baba right in there when you go into the house. And I was asking my mother, who is that? And she said, it's Meher Baba. And I looked at it and said, I heard that name before. I thought in my mind. And then she took us to our room and all that stuff and showed us around. We stayed in Elizabeth's house the first day. And middle of the night, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and sneaked out of the house and walked against Baba's house. Wondered why all those sticks was around the house, why there was a barricade around the house. And Jane must have seen me, for Jane comes out there and she knows that I don't speak any English, and she said hello and gave me a nice hug, and I went back to the house. Next day we went, Elizabeth showed me around the center and showed me what I'm going to stay in the lookout. And I was going to stay with there for a year, first for 6 months, and then Elizabeth asked me, do you want to stay longer? Yes, I want to stay longer. So I stayed for a full year on the center in different cabins. I didn't stay in the lookout all the time. I stayed 6 months in the lookout. So that was interesting, just beside the lagoon cabin. When I went in the lagoon cabin, I felt peace and quiet in my mind. And the most drawing to me was Bob Brown and Jim Myers and a few others who was playing the music, so I really could get myself into. Really, my heart went pounding from it. And after that full year, I helped Fred, what's his name now? Winterfeld was, I talked to him in German what Baba was about. So he explained a little bit for me what Baba was about. I spent time with Ella. So I loved to just sit with Ella because she was so sweet and kind. And I worked with Frank Eaton. We used to help out. The only place I've been on, have not been in, is in the guest house. I've never been inside. I've been on top on the roof, working on the roof. So I still have very respect for that compound, and because of Mera. Then Kitty started looking at me and said, "It's time for you to go back to Sweden for a year, and find a job." Okay. Behind my back, Elizabeth and my mother noticed that I was not very happy to go back. So they were working on a green card for me to move over to the States. So there was 1971, 72, late 72, middle of 72 when I went back. And somebody invited me up to Boston, so I went to Boston, and I had a friend, Kathy Haas and Annie Wellbell, was two of my best friends. We all come together to Baba at the same time, and they showed me how to meditate, how to relax, and how to be a little bit more steadier in myself. But I was a little lively and a little fruitcakey too. So I ended up going to moving over to the States in '75, and there was a big talk of our dear friend, what's his name now? Heather and Erico. They were talking about India. We were talking about the monthly in India. So everybody said, "Well, we're going to go to India." Then I was a good friend with Dave Nordin. Dave Nordin and we were having fun together, talking about Baba, and he was showing me things that we were not supposed to do, and we did it anyway. And so we both said that I wrote to my parents and asked them if I could have some more money and go to India for 2 weeks, and they said yes. So David arranged everything for me, so the whole thing. So it was like an angel, and then he was a fire angel, you know, with one broken wing, that looked like. So yeah, I went there, went around and saw everything in went to the mountain leave. That was hard for me to understand. I was just learning English, but just learning the English language. So it was hard for me to understand it. That's why I always sit very close to somebody who speaks English, so I can get the words, so I can translate them in my mind. And Kitty was the one who taught me English, and Janet Fowles, and Barbara and Clay Malcolm was the ones who taught me English too, if I put that in too. And I was in India, and I was saying to myself, I got sick, very deadly sick in India. I was heavy person. I used to be heavy and fat, and I lost about 90 pounds on the first trip, on that trip. And I said, I'm going out. This is all coming up in my past. Everything showed up in my past. I went to a New Year's party, and there was music, some of what's from my past. I wanted to go home. I wanted to go back to the States right now. So Alan was staying in the Mirror Colony with me and saying to me, yeah, your bath is ready. Your clothes are on your bed. Go take a bath. Come out to, this is 7th date. We had gone for Matidi. This is the 7th date. Mira and all the ladies are coming. I think you should go. So I went. I went in line, waiting in line with everybody else. My friend Fly Chris was coming out from the Samadhi, and he sounded like this, shaking like an aspen. I asked him, what's the matter? Crocodile tears in his eyes, and said, don't you know what God is in there? That's all he said. God is in there and he's full of love. And I went in, I don't know, I have no memory of what happened to me. I have nothing, I don't remember. Or I get out, or I get to sit back on my seat. I don't remember that. But after that, the only thing I wanted to do, I went back after 2 weeks, and the only thing I wanted to do is make money to go back to India. I went back to India for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and I begged money. The 3 times I begged money to get an entry visa, and she said, "No, you too nutty," she said to me. And Mira found out one day. Mira asked what happened in the office, or Theus is in the office, and he's asking for an entry visa. And Mira said, tomorrow call him in and give him his entry visa. He needs to be here for the time being. And I got my entry visa, was hopping up and down. My mother showed up in India for the first time, saw everything. She got to be friends with Jack Small and all that. After this thing happened, and in the years have passed by, now I can go tell anybody who Meher Baba is. I'm not shy anymore. If somebody asks me, who is Meher Baba? I would tell them, he's God in human form. He has come back again. I dare to say that, but it took me a long time. After hearing everybody's story, talking about Baba, and you know, having people listening to stories about Baba is amazing. So I hope this little story will help somebody to know what Baba is, who he is, as I come back again for us all. Thank you, Baba, for letting me be with you all. Jai Baba. My mother said that when she went, wherever my brother went, whatever country he went to, so she said, oh, I'm going to India to visit Theus and bring him a drum box, a music box. I wanted a music box. And my father sent me one of those fancy leather chairs. You know, fancy leather chairs look like this.
Yeah.
But that's coming from the bank's office, and it was shipped because we had some friends, some was living in India, and they could ship anything they wanted to ship over, duty free. So that chair is still in Mehrabad. So that's probably in Jimmy Mystery's office. Rachel, did I tell you what my mother said when we were walking down?
Yes, you did.
Well, she enjoyed being with Mansari and Go here.
Yeah.
So she was sitting with Go here with Mansari and having fun time. And there comes Go here and grabs her and says, "Will you come in with me? The ladies are here. Mira and everybody. Mira wants you."
At the time?
Yeah, Mira wants you. So she goes in, and Mira plucks one of the roses, you know, opens the roses so gently, talks to the rose to open it up, so it opens up, so beautiful. I tried it and it's very difficult. And we were walking down from the Samadhi, walking down the hill, and my mother's tears were falling down. And I was asking her, "Are you all right?" And she looked at me and said, "I know who Baba is. I know that he's God. I know that for a fact."
Thanks to Robin Bogle, who took that. It was one of the many videos, and she did a great service to document stories like Theus's. Now I wanted to just show you and read the, it's a nice obituary that the funeral parlor did for Theus. I'll just read it. You can read along. Nils Theus Malmberg, August 24, 1951 to January 25, 2023. He was 71. Theus was born in Stockholm, Sweden, the youngest of 3 children, to his parents Josephine and Sven Malmberg Sr. His siblings are a brother Sven Jr. of Stockholm, a sister Penny Charlotte Lind of France. After growing up in Sweden, Theus lived in India for many years in early adulthood, where he became a devout follower of Meher Baba. It was while in India that he met the love of his life, Rachel. The two married at sunrise, October 18, 1987, Oceanside in Myrtle Beach. He and Rachel lived in the Durham area of North Carolina for many years. They retired to Santa Fe, New Mexico, then later moved to Tucson, Arizona, and finally to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, to be closer to their faith community at the Meher Spiritual Center. Theus was an extraordinary person who touched so many lives with his loving kindness and giving spirit, as well as an unforgettable, hearty laugh. Though he suffered with daily pain due to a physical disability, he never complained and brought joy to all around him. He loved art, music, animals, the ocean, the mountains and desert, his friends and family, and most of all, his beloved Baba. Theus is survived by his brother and sister, nephews, Sebastian and Nicholas, niece Rebecca, and her children, Eleanor and Edward. His stepdaughter, Krista Lara Massey Jacquot, John is her husband, of Atlanta, and her sons, Justice, Joseph, and Jacob Jacquot. He also leaves behind countless dear friends, including Cher and Tony Zoyce of Myrtle Beach, who were like family to Rachel, Theus, and Laura, and many others across the globe, as well as his 2 adoring felines, Luciana and Mama. Arrangements are for a celebration of life are pending. So that gives you basically his story. And now I wanted to go back to Tony Zoyce, wonderfully put together he has quite a pedigree, Theus does. And so I wanted to go back to his grandmother who met Baba. Let me see now, I need to find her. All right. All of this is available on Mayor Baba Travels through Tony. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, oopsie, yeah. So, oh, all right. Now I need to go back to Grandma. This this woman, Elsie Mund, his grandmother, met Baba 3 times. She was obviously a close friend of Elizabeth's. She was Elizabeth's maid of honor at her when Elizabeth married Kenneth Patterson. And it looked like they were part of kind of New York society, I guess. Yeah, you'll see. So here is his grandmother, Elsie. She married 4 times, and Theus's grandfather was, let's see, James Theus Mund, the second husband of Elsie. All right, here we go. Elsie, here's Baba. Elsie Munds met Mayor Baba on Friday, the 20th of November, 1931, on his first visit to New York, north of the city at Croton-on-Hudson, and later in Paris, France. She also met Baba at the Mayor Center in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in the 1950s. Her daughter, Josephine, who was Theus's mother, and husband, Sven, both visited the center at other times. Elsie was the maid of honor for Elizabeth Chapin Patterson at her marriage to Kenneth Patterson on the 9th November, 1929. So here is Harmon on the Hudson. Eric Tepperman took this photo. Here's Baba at that time. Then this is where the Harmon on the Hudson, the map. All right, so this is the first husband, and let's see, and then we get into, these are clippings. I guess back in the day, the society pages seemed to chronicle the lives of these society folk. Here is Elsie Munds in an angel costume, and then here this is talking about Elizabeth's wedding, and the lives of the in high society. Here she is again. This is Grandma again. Now, this is it's about her Elsie Mund's second husband, James Theus Munds, whom Theus is named after. All right, and he's the father of Theus's mother, Josephine. All right, so here's again Elsie Mund, and this is where they lived in New York. This is Elsie, and this would be Theus's uncle. All right, now here, this is Josephine, Theus's mother, and his father, Sven, who was the ambassador to a Swedish ambassador to the U.S. So here they are. This is their marriage. Now here we come to Theus. And this is Theus and Rachel. Don't you love the look on his face? And here, he always looks happy. Here, Theus and Rachel, they both look happy. And here is Theus over in the corner here with a head covering for the sun, where he loved to be up at the Samadhi, or well, this is actually the tin shed. He's sitting on the steps. So, and here he is in Myrtle Beach with Bob Underwood, Art Nordine, and Glenn McGreeny. And in India with Jal and Cheryl Garnett. And here he is at the airport. Doesn't date this one. So this is the family. This is how he came to be part of this, to come to know Elizabeth, to come to the center, was through his grandmother, Elsie. Now I have one more to show you, and that would be, this is, Rachel has her own page, and there are a couple of nice photos on Rachel's. Oh, wow. Sorry. Oh, here we go. All right. Now, here's Rachel. This is her page on Mayor Baba Travels. I think this must be her artwork. And here's Rachel with Theus. And Rachel with Erich, young Rachel, and here they are together. All right, and this was before she passed in 2019. So Theus had 4 years where kind of on his own, and that must have been hard. I know he was not well. And here's this little drawing from Sue Chapman that she gave with him on their wedding day. All right. So,
Betty,
yeah.
it's really, I wanted to share what I shared at Theus and Rachel's wedding anniversary, their 30th anniversary at the Australian Grill in Myrtle Beach. It's Mayor Baba speaking to Narina. You have come on earth to realize God. I do not ask you to go to the caves like the saints of the past. Remain in the world without being entangled therein. Do not renounce your duties with the hope of becoming spiritual. Do your duties, but have no desires for personal gain or reward. Let not your status or achievements fill your mind with false pride. When you offer your mind in love and faith, I do everything through you. When you offer your mind in love and faith, I do everything through you. When you offer your mind in love and faith, I do everything through you. You will then be no more bound by what you do. You will be unattached and yet in full action. You will remain free in the midst of your works. You will worry no more about what life brings to you. You will worry no more about what life brings to you. You will worry no more about what life brings to you. Thank you, Baba. You will dwell in unshakable peace in spite of the tribulations in the world. You will be my torch bearers. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Rosalie. That was great. I think.
Thank you, Baba.
Thank you. I'm having such trouble finding this one. Oh, maybe I've got it now. Here, I'll show you quickly. This is the board. This is the board that these are the photo boards that uh, Cher and Lara and family prepared. They're kind of small, but maybe you can see them there. Just this is what they showed at the wedding. I mean, I'm sorry, at the funeral of well, memorial. That's the right word. The memorial of Theus in January at Myrtle Beach. So just to give you a quick look. There's Theus and oopsie. Okay, we'll go to this one. And there's Theus and Elizabeth. Oops, sorry. And then there's
Okay. How's it going?
The picture up at the top is Theus as a baby.
In the middle.
He's the small child in the center. That's his sister and his brother. And the
top left here.
yeah,
Yeah.
the top left. And
Ah.
one right next to that,
Yeah.
his sister Penny now.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh, yeah. If you can tell us.
A little bit.
Pardon?
If you can scroll down just a little bit, you'll be able to see Penny.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the other way, I'm sorry. Oh,
Yeah. You
okay,
don't seem to be able to go any.
you can't.
No.
Yeah. And
Sorry.
Lara and I took care of Theus over here, but with a lot of input from Penny. We were on the phone with her quite a bit. She was very involved in Theus's care, and she called him frequently on Saturdays to have a chat with him.
Is
They were quite close.
she the one who lives in Albuquerque?
No, his sister lives in France,
Oh wow.
and
Oh.
his brother is in Sweden, but
Ah.
they were not close.
Ah.
He was quite a bit older, and his brother Sven was the one who was the ambassador. His father was a banker. He was not the ambassador.
Oh.
Yeah, but he that picture that you showed of his mother and father, where they were all dressed up.
Yeah.
They were at a special dinner for the king of Sweden
Oh my goodness.
with that. So he was quite a prominent person
Ah.
in Sweden, in Stockholm.
Wow. If I could get back. Yeah.
And when Rachel and Theus got married in 1987, his mother Josephine was here for that, and his Josephine's stepsister or half sister Ingrid was here also.
I'm gonna go
And I
back.
think she might be the one who lives in Albuquerque.
Ah, I see. Ah. Okay. Yes.
And Elsie and Elizabeth met when they were in boarding school together as girls.
Ah.
And that's when they became best friends and stayed that way their whole
About
lives.
10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for that clarification about, I thought it was his father who was the
Yeah,
ambassador.
it was mixed up. Theus would sometimes, Theus was a rascal and he sometimes got things mixed up.
I have to change a few things.
Okay, I wonder if you have any comments about any of these other photos or.
Oh gosh. Well, he went way back with so many people. There's right now you can see Theus with Elizabeth,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then but right below that is Theus with Kathy Haas,
Oh,
and I think that's Annie.
Annie, well. Annie.
And they were very close friends
Oh,
early days here.
this one. Oh.
Yeah.
Ah. I wondered up here if this might be Gulu or Jalu with in the picture with Mara.
Yeah, that could be.
It looked
It looks like them.
Uh-huh,
I think like
looks
one of them.
Sari's there. And I think.
Gulu, Jalu, seldom her room.
It's Gulu.
Gulu.
Gulu, yeah.
okay. Huh. Well, y'all just go. Okay, we can look at this one closely and see, and then we should open it up to, yeah. Let's see. Any
Laura's wedding in the middle there.
Where?
In the middle.
this one?
Oh,
Laura,
yeah, that's Laura,
Laura's wedding.
Rachel's daughter, and that's Rachel's mom, Fern.
Oh,
And this was at Laura's wedding in Atlanta, and my son Joey, Rachel and Theus were his godparents, and
And
Joey was the ring bearer at Laura's wedding
And
there
Joe
in
Dunn?
Atlanta.
That would be Joe Dunn.
Joe, yeah.
Joe DiMaggio.
Joe
Joe Dunn.
DiMaggio Dunn.
What was that photograph of the Baba on the road by the side of the mountain? It was in the last group of photographs. It was midway down on the right-hand side there. See that one?
here.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
What's that?
that,
That's
I think
Laura.
that's in Laura, and that's
Very well
Theus
done.
in the white.
The
Pardon?
Elora Caves.
Yeah,
And is Baba in there? I can't tell.
no, that's Theus.
The what? The
Oh.
one?
He's in a group. Yeah, that's Theus in a group at Elora.
Okay, thank
He
you.
looks a little like.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yes, and Theus's mom, Josephine, was Elizabeth was her godmother, and Theus told us that when Elizabeth came to Stockholm on that visit, when he had decided that he would end his life, he said he was 18 when Elizabeth became his godmother. So she was godmother to Josephine and then to Theus.
What a beautiful connection.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think probably at this
So-
point.
Theus had planned to end his life when he was 18.
It was when Elizabeth and Jane turned up. He said he was living in a dark cloud, was what he told me. And he said that he was what was it that he said? He was fruitcakey. and he was very unhappy with his life. And he decided that he was not going to continue in this life. He wanted to move on. And then they get a telephone call where he was living at home in Stockholm. They got a telephone call from Jane and Elizabeth, who were in Stockholm and wanted to come to visit. And that's when Elizabeth told Josephine she wanted to bring Theus back to the States. And that's when, and Josephine agreed. And that's when Theus changed his mind, and the whole idea of ending his life was gone. And that's when he was brought, not not immediately, but very soon after, Josephine and Theus traveled together to New York. And then Josephine wanted to show him America because she had been born in New York. And they took a bus trip from New York to Myrtle Beach, which apparently was horrendous. Thea said it took 16 hours and they couldn't see anything of the United States. And
What year, Cheryl? What year? 1971, was it?
I think it was, I think it was somewhere late 70 or 71. He was.
Oh, yeah, because when I met him and it was late 71, I think, it
Yeah.
was like, he was not speaking much English. I mean,
Right.
Good.
That's when I first met him too, in 71. That was my first visit to the center. And everybody, you know, he was quite this little celebrity because he was Elizabeth's godson. And he didn't speak hardly any English. And so he was quite exotic, you know, everybody was, oh gosh, that's yes, you know.
Who again was Josephine? Who wrote? I got lost. I lost, but something
Grandma,
right before we
Josephine
got on
was
the bus to
Theus's-
Myrtle Beach.
Josephine was Theus's mom.
oh, Mom.
She rode the bus with this.
She rode the bus with Theus
Yeah.
from New York to Myrtle Beach.
How did she get to be in New York?
Well, they lived in Stockholm, but she had married a Swede and they were living in Stockholm. But she grew up in New York, New York City. They were, you know, they were a well-to-do family, the Munns. Theus and Elsie were quite well-to-do.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, I think we should ask folks to raise hands if they want to share. Although Sherry, if you've got more to say, by all means. Who knows? You're the one who knows this story well.
I have another question that she could answer, I think. I heard that that Elizabeth had offered to bring Theus to India when he was a baby, but that his mother, I think it was his mother, said no. And so he did not go until later. And I was curious about that story, if you know anything about it. If it's wrong, just say so. I don't know. I mean,
the story I know is that Elsie was visiting them in Stockholm, and Theus was quite young, and she said that she was going to go to visit. I think that's when it was in the 50s, and she was going to come here to Myrtle Beach to see Baba again. And Theus wanted to go, but he was little. He was born in 51. So he was too young to travel. And so, you know, they all said, no, he's too little to do that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anne Howe has a hand up.
Hi there. I almost didn't make it here in time because I had my time zone switched up. So I'm so happy that I can share my love for Theus and honor his life. I met him in the early 2000s when I went to India, and he just enfolded me with Baba's love and took me around. And I think the greatest gift I received through Theus was that he was the living example of remembering Baba. Every word, every breath was about Baba and thank you, Baba. And it made such a deep impression on me. And so over the years, I would return to India and I would see him there. And I would actually email for him to Rachel because, you know, it was hard for him to do such things. And I felt like I knew her, even though I never met her. And then the most beautiful thing that happened was, and I had seen him a few times in Myrtle Beach too, but this last October when I had come out, I live in Montana, and I had come out for the Ward Park seminar. And so I got to see Theus one more time outside the lagoon cabin. And I offered to take over the wheelchair and take him into the lagoon cabin. And so it was the most beautiful gift from Baba that I got to have that intimate time with him in the lagoon cabin. And of course, right after that, the COVID struck and I got hit with it really hard. So I didn't get to see him again, but he was the most unique soul. And, you know, he just showed me how to remember Baba. And for that, I am just deeply grateful. So Jai Baba.
Oh, thank you, Anne. Now we have Dr. Anne from India. Where are you, Dana?
Actually, I'm in France. I'm in France. Yeah. But when I arrived to stay as a doctor in India, just a couple of days after I arrived, I was not yet functioning as a doctor, but Theus had some problem and had to be taken to Pune, and he could not move one arm. So the colleague was arranging his transfer. I mean, there was no real ambulance, you know, it was like a cattle van in which they put him on a stretcher, and there was this strange fellow with a strange manner of speech who wanted and was begging everybody for a BD. And, you know, it looked so weird. I thought, am I really going to stay and take care of such people? But what had happened, actually, he had been working, helping the, you know, doing manual labor, helping the workers up the hill, and he'd been carrying what they call a gamela, a metal pan full of stones or gravel or dirt on his shoulder. So he put his neck out, and that pinched a nerve, and he couldn't move his arm. But at that point, we didn't know what was happening. But I got to know him because, gosh, that guy suffered a lot. He had so much pain from, you know, as a child, I think. He had been in a car accident in the snow and broken all his bones, he told me once. So he would often come to me and wanting acupuncture. And, you know, it took me a while to know him more, but he was very likable as a patient. He would call me Anna Pancake. And, you know, here is this guy in pain, and we would laugh together because he was the laughing kind of guy. And he would keep saying, thank you, Baba, thank you, Baba. And up the hill when he was on duty at the Samadhi, he really belonged there. You know, he was, I have a friend who was not especially a Baba lover who came once, and she remembers Baba and Theus because there was a connection. Something happened between these two people. And yeah, it was always surprising to me how much pain he had, and he would endure it and laugh. And I also want to say that the armchair that he mentioned, his mother or grandmother's armchair from Sweden, I have it. It's in my room in Mehrabad because I'd given it to Jimmy Mistry. When Jimmy died, Fallu took it, and after a while, Fallu thought it was too luxurious for Mehrabad. So every time I sit in that armchair, I remember Theus, and I say, thank you, Baba.
Beautiful, Anne. Thank you. Oh, wonderful. All right. Tina, you have something to share?
Yes, some of you have heard this story before, but Thea was very protective of Baba's room. And so once I was in there, and Theus was in there, and this other guy was in there with red hair. And so there was a green chair, and it had a rope with a heart on it, meaning don't sit there. And it also had a sign, don't lean against the chair. So the guy with the red hair, I don't remember his name, he came and he sat on the green chair. And Theus just went crazy. He was like screaming at him, God, get out of that green chair. Get out of that green chair right now. And the guy said, but it said don't lean on the chair. It didn't say don't sit on it. And he said, well, what do you think that heart rope means? And the guy, this went on back and forth for several minutes. And the guy finally got up out of the chair. And when he sat in another chair, he was going through some kind of religious ecstasy. And I thought, I'm going to wait till Theus leaves and I'm going to try sitting in that chair. But of course I didn't. So that's my memory of Theus.
Was this in India, Tina, or at Myrtle Beach?
No, this is in Baba's room.
Baba's in India.
No.
Oh, at Baba's house.
At Baba's house in Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach, in Myrtle Beach. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a very holy, sacred place, and it's very silent, but not that day. I thought if Theus hadn't been in a wheelchair, he would have gotten up and punched the guy in the face for sitting in that green chair. So anyway, that's my story of Theus.
A great story. Oh, okay. Sue Chapman.
Thank you. And thanks to the people, all of you together who've organized this remembrance of Theus. He was my very first friend in Baba in India when I came to Baba in 1983. And he took me under his wing. And I really feel like he modeled so beautifully what loving Baba was all about. Unconditional, never, ever, as somebody said, Baba was never out of his thoughts. The thing I really loved right at the beginning of knowing him was the way he used to wake us up in the morning by tapping very gently on each of the bedroom doors in the retreat at Lower Meribad, and you just hear him say, Meher Baba, to wake you up in the morning to go up for morning arti. So we became very good friends, and he came with Rachel and visited my home a couple of times in England, and we made some really fun journeys together, and they were always memorable. The first one up to the island of Iona, which was the founding birthplace of Christianity, and we went to the abbey there, and we were scheduled to be on a ferry back to the Isle of Mull, and Rachel and I looked up and we saw Theus's back vanishing over a very, very long sandy beach, and all you could see was his beret and his black coat blowing in the wind. We were having to run after him and shout for him to return, but he was in a world of his own. He was a real mystic. The other funny story was when he was on the last afternoon at my home in Northumberland, and he loved to go out and play with the sheep and the lambs in the field. because he said that the little lammies were Baba's, and Baba loved them so much that he should love them so much too. And one of the ways he wanted to enjoy this playfulness was to run down a hill. This was in October when there was a lot of very muddy grass. And he finished up taking that beautiful black coat that many of you know, all the way down the hill at about 40 miles an hour, finishing in a huge pile of slurry at the bottom of the hill. It was covered from head to toe in mud. And we finished up having to rush to an express cleaners and get the coat cleaned before putting him on the train back to London for his evening flight back to America. And that was how I remember Theus always living right on the edge of life, always full of joy, always wanting to be playful, always wanting to keep the spirit of every occasion enlivened with Baba's love and joy. I always loved to visit him when I came to Myrtle Beach, and of course, dear Rachel too, while she was still alive. And it was incredibly hard seeing how much they both suffered physically in the last, Theus pretty much all the time I ever knew him was in pain. And Rachel, certainly the last decade of her life too. But they both never complained. They never ever questioned what Baba gave them to endure in this lifetime. And that was such a lesson to me and to everybody around them. And I'm so very, very grateful to have had both of them as friends in this life, and to share a journey with them in Baba together was the greatest privilege. And wherever they are, I hope they're having as much fun now as they had together in life. Thank you for letting me share, Jai Baba.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Let's see, we have Matt Walla. Who would that be?
Jai Baba, I'm sorry to have come in late. Matt was watching and I heard. And thank you. I did hear your share, Sue. And I remember my second trip to India. Theus was a huge presence. And thank you, Baba, and Jai Baba. And
Viola, can you move a little to your left? You're kind of, yeah, you're good.
okay, it's Matt's computer. So,
Okay.
so I'm just doing the best I can.
Good,
Sorry.
good, all right.
All right. And yes, his sweetness and generosity were I had maybe two holidays in my life that were truly holidays. One was with Susan White, who I'd ended up traveling with to India. This was 79. Yes, because in 77 we had vowed to go back together the next year, and then we lost touch. Then we got on the plane, and in 79 each of us was a seat apart, and it was so sweet of Baba, and Wynn was there. So traveling back, it was Susan White and Wynn and Theus, Peter and David Nordine, and Susan Shader. We spent some time in Pune, all staying at Jimmy Lodge, and it was a ebullient experience. So there was Theus with his scarf wrapped around his neck, smoking cigarette after cigarette. And
when you're ready.
Oh, thanks, sweetie.
Yep.
Excuse me, let's see. All right, we're good, I think.
They're
Okay.
looking at you now.
Oh, geez.
We hear you, Betty, talking.
Better get out of the way.
I'm trying to figure, somebody needs to mute. Is it Rick Fox, I guess?
Oh.
All right, thank you.
so, and thank you. And he was drinking coffee after coffee and just sharing. So it was one joke after another. Everybody was laughing so much, and there was such a free sense of freedom. And this I won't forget when we were getting on the plane, I believe it was Theus, David, and Wynn, who's in those days, you walked out onto the tarmac and then climbed a little ladder to the plane. You know, it was a metal rolling ladder. And they stood at the bottom. They were saying, Jai Baba to everyone who got on the plane. And Susan and I were kind of in our seats, kind of pretending we didn't know them. Anyway, it was so sweet. I will never forget that. And then in the last years, every time I saw Theus, it's that experience of he had that love, that experience of somehow being so well known by someone, and his sharing Baba's love in the last years. And every time I saw him, it was almost he carried with him, and I know all of the suffering, but he carried with him that love, which is so rare for Baba, that when I saw him and when he would greet me and I would greet him, it was like a dear old friend, like a quality similar to the Mandali of being seen and known and loved, and loving him. Yes. So those are 2, 3, 4 memories of Theus. Thank you for letting me share them.
Thank you, Viola. I'm glad you joined us.
Thank you.
Let's see, Debbie Nordine.
Hi, everybody. This is just great. And it's so wonderful. I can go right after Viola. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Because
yes.
I'm still a little hoarse from my surgery I had a while ago. Anyway, it's wonderful to go right after Viola because I met Theus in 1979 on my first trip when I arrived there in November, and he was staying at Meher Colony, and that's where I ended up staying. And like so many of you, he took me under his wing. And I still remember the bidi and the chai, the bidi, the chai, the bidi. And then, of course, I didn't know that much about caffeine at the time because I was more of a, teetotaler. But then I could see later how revved up he would be on all that chai. He had one expression, I'm sure many of you heard him say this. He would get so excited about something. He said, I'm so happy I'm hopping around like a damn bunny rabbit. That was one of his favorite expressions, hopping around like a damn bunny rabbit. And I wish Peter was here, but Peter's in India right now because he can do a pretty good Theus imitation. Theus and Peter were roommates, and as Viola said, Dave Nordine they were quite close. Dave and Theus and Wynn, they were like a threesome, doing a lot of things together, and they were all there at my first trip. And shortly after I had been there for a month and a half, Theus and Kebi and I went on a trip to the Taj Mahal in Rishikesh. And again, he was a wonderful traveling companion, and he took everything in stride. I think what I remember so much about Theus is the way he would say Baba's name. Every time he said Baba's name, it was just beautiful. He could, Baba. He had that kind of reverence every time he would take Baba's name. And I know he told us in that video about his dark cloud, but he had had a very troublesome teenagehood, if you want to call it that. I'm sure with drugs and other things, and that feeling of despair. So Baba's timing for Elizabeth and Jane going to Sweden and calling the family home was really Baba's nazar on Theus every step of the way. So anyway, I will miss my old friend, but I know we'll meet again the last thing is I had wanted to talk to him. He had checked on me almost weekly when I was recuperating from surgery from last September. And I was so concerned I couldn't get a hold of him. I couldn't get a hold of him when I had heard that he moved to the nursing home. And either Tony told him, so Tony could tell me that, or out of the blue, he just called me. So I don't know if it's because I wrote to Tony and Cher saying, how do I get a hold of Theus? I've been trying and I couldn't get through. You know, he wasn't answering his cell in the nursing home. And I even called the nurse's desk and they said to do something else, whatever it was. So he called me 2 days before he took wing. And I'll always be grateful for hearing his voice. One more time, Jay Bob.
Thank you, Debbie. Dear Baba. Michelle and Marvin.
Jay Baba. Well, I met Theus on my first trip to India. I guess it was December 95, and he was standing behind me in Darshan line. Thank you, Baba. And he told his story, and then it seems that every time I was either in India or Myrtle Beach, he was there. But and in the last few years, we would go almost every summer with Aaron, and he was always there, and we spent some time. But we have this wonderful, Marvin's going to share this. We have several of Theus's fun things. This is his humor. Let's see. And so this is hanging in our bathroom. It's Baba in this little swing surrounded by birds, and it's just so sweet. His
His sense of humor in art was overwhelming.
It's so cute, and just his joy, and with all the pain that he went through, like everyone else. I mean, just being redundant, talking about. He faced it with such grace and courage, and never complaining.
That a little lamb kicking his legs up? Is that what that is? A little lamb?
Baba's in joy.
He's enjoying. He's
Baba.
Oh, it's Baba.
It's
Yeah,
Baba. Baba's the king of the ground.
It made me think when Theus recounted in the video his friendship when he went to the center, that the only people he seemed to be around were Jim Meyer and Bob Brown. And Bob Brown was notorious for, at times on stage, he would flop himself down on his back and kick his legs, arms up, and play the guitar, kicking his arms and legs up in the air. And like, you know, just the theatrics. But Bob loved doing that.
Well,
my memory of Theus was he wanted to go to the beach and put his feet into the water, and so
this is 5 years ago.
This
maybe.
is 5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And I carried him down to the beach.
After driving him in the car.
Yeah.
We drove him in the car, in the van first.
And got him down to the beach and got him, into the water. And it was just such a beautiful experience to be able to share.
Wow. Oh, sweet. Oh, thanks, you two. Wow, that's a wonderful memory. Whoops. Hey, Baba. Diana.
Thank you. These are such beautiful stories to hear about Theus. I think I'm the one here who didn't really know him. I had no interaction with him, but I would see him when I was in Myrtle Beach. I remember his coming to Bill LePage's Wednesday afternoon talks at the regional kitchen, that porch. But sometime years ago, someone gave me this. And it's interesting, I'm coming right after Michelle and Marvin. someone gave me this and told me that Theus had made it. And it's a pin, because you see on the back, there we go.
Wow.
So it's this beautiful pin and it's so delicate. I don't know if you can tell. I don't know what it's made of, and I'm guessing it might have been made of the same materials that are that beautiful piece that they showed. So, so he had this creative side that I find totally delightful, and it's part of his joy with Baba.
Can you show us again, Diana?
Sure, it's Baba.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Wow. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Diana. Now, Judy.
Theus gave me a precious gift. It's others have made reference to this, but for me, Theus is thank you, Baba. And the joy of his gratitude. And somehow, so I don't know, for some decades, I've known Theus, but so long ago, decades ago, I started incorporating, my own version, thank you, Baba, throughout my days, when all these things happen, anything. But it was Theus that inspired that in me with his gratitude and that constant remembrance of Baba. And for me, truly, it is an incredible gift, because it's a way that throughout every day, I'm remembering Baba by thanking him and by seeing that he is he's the puppet master, he's the creator of the universe, he's doing it all. We're just here. And but that gratitude has taken not just seed, but it's grown into a strong oak in my heart. And so I have Theus to thank for that. And also, and it seems to be, we're at the show and tell part of our sharing. So I had the great good fortune to have samadhi duty for many years at Mehrabad. And so I don't remember the precise year, the early 2000s, Theus was over at Mehrabad for a couple or few months alone. And it's during that time that he was taking clay. The previous two showings are, I bet, the same kind of clay that made this lovely Baba, who's has his hands in prayer and even little sandals on his feet. And so one day, he would often be up on the hill during my samadhi duty in the late afternoon. And one day he came over and said, Judy, I made this for you. And I was so tickled. And anyway, I don't know if you can see how lovely Baba is, but yeah, he was, he just delighted in Baba and brings joy to everyone that he encountered, which is, so many people have expressed that, and how pleasing that must be to Meher Baba. So thank you, Baba, for yes.
Thanks, Judy.
Sure. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Now, Rick Fox.
Wait, I'm muted. Okay, I'm unmuted. Oh, I have one of these lovely.
Oh,
And I didn't know, I got it from the LA Center. I didn't know until now that Theus have been creating these things. But anyhow, I only met Theus in December of 21, my first visit to the center after 40 plus years of reading about it. And we hit it off right away. And the following April, I returned and we were sitting out by the lagoon cabin on the bench and that. And there was a young lady there asking a lot of questions. It was just Theus and myself and this young lady. And I was answering her questions and I glanced over at Theus and boy, did he look pleased. And he looked pleased with me. And we got to talking more than we had the first visit. And we really, really hit it off. And I mentioned to him that I hope that someday that somebody would gift me with just a wee little snippet of Baba's hair. And he said, oh, I have some hair coming in a couple of months. I'll give you a call. So I must have given him my number because a couple of months later, sure enough, he called me at my home and said, I got the hair. So I said, oh, great. You know, I was ecstatic. I was ecstatic. It was like a dream come true. So I said, I'm going to be there in October for Ward's presentations and I'll see you then. So October comes around and I'm there and he gifted me the hair and we began to hang around. And I had a rental car, so I was bringing him around from his home to every afternoon to the center, and we went to film night one night and Daniel Stone concert one night. So we were really hanging out. So we were at his house, and he gifted me the hair, which I have here. It was about 3 inches worth of hair here, and then he gave me one day. He gave me this little gourd. I don't know if you can see this. It's probably can't. It's kind of dark. It's all carved beautifully with all birds and little figures. It's just exquisite. And he said it came from New Mexico. But here's the funny story. He produced this piece of glass that he said came from one of the windows at the Samadhi that had been broken at one time. And I guess they had cut it into a rectangle. So he had this. It was about 2.5 inches by about maybe 10 inches. And he wanted to give me a piece of this glass. So his personal assistant was there. And he says, we don't have a glass cutter, but, and right then I should have put my foot down and said, let me run down to Walmart and get a glass cutter, but I didn't. I was in his house. Yeah, I just went along with it. So we go into the kitchen and he calls us out to her, see if you can find a pair of pliers. She's looking in the drawer for a pair of pliers. She can't find it. She comes out with a mallet and he says, okay, use that. He says, wrap it up in a towel, bring it to the edge of the counter, and then just bash off a piece off the end. I'm thinking, this is not good. This is not good, but silly me. I went along with it. I brought it and smashed. The whole thing shattered. And, yeah, I've got a little piece of Samadhi glass right here. You can possibly see it. If the Mac wants to know why they have a bag full of shattered glass, now they'll know. It was from that fateful day. So finally, towards the end of the stay, I called him up. I said, "You ready to come out?" He says, "No, I'm not feeling well." And I could tell that this wasn't good. There's more to it. There's a sad story that goes with this, but I'm not going to tell this now. Anthony knows what I'm talking about. It's about him wanting to go to India one more time. That was it turned into a bit of a confusing situation. However, when I saw that he was in the nursing home, I saw at Myrtle Manor on Facebook, the photo of him. He did not look happy. And I phoned him there, and as was mentioned, it went straight to voicemail. He didn't return my call. And then I was just floored when I heard that he passed. He's just a great guy, just a great Baba lover. And out of his mouth, it's just Baba. His house is just full of Baba. He just sat there and he would just say, oh Baba, just spontaneously, just like no one I had seen. Just a phenomenal soul. And it was my honor to have known him right at the end. So, Jai Meher Baba.
Thank you, Rick. Marcia.
I had the pleasure of
seeing Theus every time I came through from Chicago. And I'm in Myrtle Beach now, and I saw him the last 3 days before he passed. And I had my dog Gidget, and she was like kissing him and licking him, and he really liked her. And then I was able to go to his memorial, and I was invited to his house. And so I was able to get this picture of him when he was young. I said, boy, he's really cute, right? Anyway, I was able to select a few things that he had made, this little pig, this sculpty pig. But look at the eyes, right? I'm dyslexic. And then I got his little rabbit. I was kind of greedy. This is a refrigerator magnet. And here is a deer. And then at the time I was there, I was making a painting, and then I painted it when he passed, and I put those objects into the painting. So I want to give this to his family if I can find a way, but I thought you might want it. So it's got the deer, and I was staying at the Hermitage, I think, at that time. And I felt like when I was painting that he was with me, Anyway, he was a very sweet man. Yep. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. That's beautiful. The painting's beautiful. Joy.
Hi, I'm trying to unmute here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I guess it's appropriate that I'm one of the last people, maybe, because I met Theus not that long ago. I did meet, I saw him in India, and I took a picture of him and his wife, and I always saved it with some of my other Indian pictures, but I don't remember what year it was. But when I moved here to Myrtle Beach, I was able to give it to him. It was a really sweet picture of them together, hugging and looking at each other. And I mostly had contact with Theus when I started going to chai in the afternoons, and our eyes would meet, and I would go over to him, and I would sit next to him, and he would put his hand on my forearm, and we would hold hands and talk. And it seemed like he was so contactable, with the eye contact. And I said, I just want to go and say hi to him. And I thought that he probably wasn't feeling so hot, but he never told me that he wasn't when I asked him, how are you? He said, I'm fine. He didn't mention any complaints to me. And so when I heard people say, oh, he's really suffering, I said, geez, I never got that from him. He would never tell me. And one day I had a procedure, and Al Grasso took me, and he said, let's stop and see Theus. He's in the nursing home. And I said, okay. So we were sitting there and just having a good time together. And I had found out very recently that he was from Sweden, and his mother, who she was and stuff. And I was kind of excited because my grandparents are from Sweden. And I guess I have kind of an attachment and identification with being Swedish. So I said to him, can I call you Svenska? Means Swede. Let's talk about Sweden. Can we talk about Sweden? Because I hadn't met any other Swedish people in my life, except my dad and his relatives. And he said, no, don't want to talk about Sweden. And I thought, boy, he's really natural. He just says what he feels, there's no putting on or making exceptions for another person. It was like, I'm really getting him, how his naturalness really struck me. So I didn't really pursue it, but I did say, well, why don't you want to talk about Sweden? I would love to hear about it. And he goes, no, he said, and it sort of makes me cry when I have to say this, but he said, I was bullied there and I couldn't wait to leave. Wow. So that was the end of our conversation about Sweden. But he recovered from that. And so I would stop calling him Swede and stuff like that. And Al was looking at us and he said, you and Theus have exactly the same kind of hair. And it was funny because right before that, I thought, boy, his hair and mine look exactly alike, kind of graying and, thickish and stuff. And I said, Al, I just thought of that and you said it. And we laughed about that.
I guess I don't know what else to say. I did visit him 1 or 2 more times in the nursing home. One time he was eating, but he always said he was fine. How are you? I'm fine. You know, and I was about to visit him again when I spoke to the nude who had come over here to do some things. And he said, oh, somebody named Theus passed away. And I couldn't believe it. You know, it was like, what? Are you kidding? Are you sure you have this right? You know, so I started calling around and I found out it was true that he had gone to the doctor and something happened while he was there and he passed the same way, the same day, I mean. He had talked about wanting to go to India and trying to make a plan to go next January, I think. And I was thinking, gee, I wonder if it'll happen. But now when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking maybe he stopped by the Samadhi on his way out. But I always enjoyed his company. And I always hated when I had to leave and go home from the nursing home because I sort of felt like it was hard for him to have his friends have to take off after a visit. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Joy. That's beautiful. Thank you. Ruthie.
Hey, Baba. I'm so happy to be here today. I love this. There's just no doubt. And it just clicked to listening to the video when he talked about when he came to Myrtle Beach, how he kind of gravitated to Bob Brown, because it just reminded me of how Bob Brown was. And Theus and he kind of picked up a similar personality. There was that playfulness. And so every time I would see Theus, I would gravitate to him. And he would like, oh, you know, he would be happy to see me. And then we'd sit together and just be silly about things and laugh. And he just had that purity and that childlike quality that just pulled me to him. So one year I met him in 85 when I was in India. That was my first encounter with Theus. And as everyone has said, he was so approachable. We sat on the wall outside the at the Pilgrim Center, and he just talked about Baba. That was all, you know, that was all that was this encounter was about, was Meher Baba. And I was so taken with him. I didn't forget him. Anyway, I live in North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and he and Rachel lived down the road. So I knew them before they married. I happened to be on the center when they were married. And I always just felt an affinity for both of them. Rachel was so amazing a woman. I just adored Rachel, and she was kind to me. I had been married and I was in the process of separation and divorce, and she extended herself, her energies, her love, her time. She came to my house and just, you know, did what she could to help me heal from the pain of separation and divorce. Just astounding woman. I loved her so much. She had a workshop and she said, well, I'll tell you what, you can come to my workshop. And I forget, it was like a couple $100. It was like more money than I had. You can come to my workshop for free if you teach me how to sing. And I said, okay, Rachel, it's on, you know. So I went to her workshop and I remember watching her. And there was one point where she just struck me as looking and feeling like Elizabeth Patterson. But that was just an encounter with her. Anyway, Theus and she were just an amazing couple. They lived down the road. I almost bought a house beside them. I was going to build a house in Chatham County, and they lived on a river, and we had a wonderful day at their house there near the river. And then Theus came to my house and he got on the roof and he would do work around the house. And again, it was when he got a break, we'd like hang out and act like kids together. We'd just giggle and say things that, I mean, it just always brought that beautiful piece of purity that Baba, at least that's what I suspect it is. So I got to the center once, my birthday, and I walked into my room, and here was this piece of sculpture that he made. There's Baba, and behind him is a little, I don't know what it is exactly. Well, let me see. There we go. Yeah, behind him is a little animal, and that animal is holding an umbrella over Baba.
Oh.
And of course, this umbrella just detached so that I could show you this, I think. And then there were little animals on it. So here's a little bunny rabbit. Whoops, there we go. So this was sitting on my bedside table at the center when I arrived for my birthday one year. Theus was an unbelievable soul, and I am just so grateful that you had the time, everybody that's here, to share and take time to just be in his sweet presence today. I'll miss him, and I'm grateful that I had a chance to know him. So thanks for asking, Betty. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that wonderful whimsical piece. Wow, that's wonderful. Thanks, Ruthie.
Yes. Thank you, Baba.
Thank you. Jai Baba. Rabia.
Hi, I'm in India right now, so it's really late, but I'm so happy to be here. And I'm just trying to even gather myself to figure out what to say, but like Theus meant the world to me. He, I think I had heard stories of him my whole life, and I don't think I met him until my first trip to India, but I've heard just like, funny stories of this character, my whole life, growing up, like my uncles and Debbie just shared a story. And I met him, and, when I went to India, I was probably 23, and he was just so kind and fun. I just love his playfulness, and I just feel like he allowed me to be myself. Like you could just be yourself, and he just adored people. I can say I just felt like he adored me. He saw me. I just hear all these stories of him giving, just the tiniest little gifts, but he was so thoughtful with what he gave you. I mean, it's like he would just spread gifts, treasures all over. Like he'd get a Baba treasure and he would have it, and then he would give it to somebody, or he would make something and he would, give it to somebody. And, you hear all these stories of all these people having the same experience, but when he gave it to you, it was so meaningful. He showed me how to revere. He showed me how to love. I would remember, like I would want to be around him all the time, because I just found him I just loved him. But I remember, like, being in India, and I'd be like, where are you going, Theus? And he was always going to the Samadhi. He just wanted to be in the Samadhi all the time. And so now when I go there, I think of him, and, he showed me how to just so naturally, to remember Baba so naturally, and just so with all of your heart. And it's just, the most beautiful gift. And I love to think about just being playful with him, and just like, it's so fun and it's so rare. People get so serious, and I think some people, it's easy to think of him in a certain way, but I just think of him as so brilliant. He could be childlike, but he's brilliant in he's brilliant in every way to me. Um, and I just right before I left for India, I think around Thanksgiving, he got admitted to the hospital. He was very sick. I thought he was gonna pass then. So I drove from Georgia, and I was with him as he had a really high fever. He was very sick, and it was just like very scary. I didn't know if he was gonna make it through the night, but he didn't even know I was there. I don't think he couldn't, like, he was not able to swallow. He was just very, very sick, and I would just be like, Theus, like trying to talk to him, and he was just out of it. He's delirious, but I was just watching his lips, and he was just saying Baba, Baba, Baba. It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. He's such a special person, and I'm so grateful. And he would call me his goddaughter, but somebody was like, God, I wish I had a godfather like that. And I was just like, you could have one. I just made him mine. Like, one day I was like, Theus, be my godfather. And I think, like, who better than to be your godfather? He is the absolute best godfather. I think he was all of our godfather. He's wonderful. I love him. I miss him. And I do feel like he's here. I've been celebrating with him at Amartithi and Baba's birthday. I celebrate with him every day. I'm at the Samadhi. And I'm so happy for him after he got out of the hospital. I was like, Theus, you look so good. I'm so happy. Last time I saw you, you were so sick. And he said, I want to die. And I was just like, it was very hard to hear, but I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy that he is free. But I told him then, I was like, God, I'm so happy for you. I want that for you, but like, I'm so sad for me. I just want you to be here. But I am just thrilled for him. It's like, I'm thrilled to think of him as free, and free from a body that was just binding him so much. And you could never tell unless you would have to study him very hard, because he wouldn't let you know how much he suffered. But it was just so much, and I'm so grateful that he's free. And I'm thrilled to hear all these stories. It's wonderful. And I think that's it. I think I'm gonna go to bed now.
Oh, thank you for wearing your heart on your sleeve. Yeah. Tina.
Yeah, could you spotlight me?
Yes, I can.
Because I wanted to show something.
Wait. Oops.
You muted me.
I'm sorry, I did the wrong thing. Can you, I think, yeah, you're good.
This is something that Theus gave me, and he said he found it in the ocean.
Oh.
I guess it washed up on the beach, but it's a beautiful globe with a flower in it. And I was just sitting in the kitchen one day at the original kitchen, and he came in and gave it to me. I always felt like really blessed because I got that gift from him. So I just wanted to share that because other people were sharing things that they got from Theus. I never got Baba's, little trinkets, but I got something very beautiful.
Thank you, Tina. Ralph, before we wind up, I know you had your hand up for a long time. Did you want to? And looks like Tony wants to say something too. Let's see.
I just forgot to put it down, I think. That's all.
Okay. But Tony, were you waving your hand there? or maybe saying goodbye. Let's see.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Lean back.
I just wanted to say to people that that Theus was very sad that he was not able to live by himself anymore. But also the last year or so, he was making plans to go to France to visit his sister Penny and to go to India. And we all knew that it would be impossible for him to do that. But on the other hand, it gave him so much joy to think that he would go back to India. And so we encouraged him to make his plans. His greatest joy, being so disabled, was to go to the center. And we were all, Lara and Penny and I were all so concerned with, with his day-to-day life, that he became in charge of finding transportation to go to the center. And he had so many dear friends who stepped up and took him to the center all the time. So he wanted to sit in the lagoon cabin as much as he could. And he went very, very frequently, thanks to all of you friends who took him
Over many, many years.
over the past, since Rachel passed, essentially, and even before that. Everyone did so much for Theus, and he appreciated it so much to be taken to the center. It was just wonderful of everyone to do that. He needed it so much. And the last week of his life, he was able to get his friends to bring him to the center. And as far as I could figure out, he went to the center 6 days out of the last week of his life, which was just unbelievable, because he really was very ill and in a lot of pain. And I just want to thank everyone so much for everything you did. Jai Baba.
And thank you two, for everything you've done. It's just amazing. Thank you.
He was a very lovable rascal.
Well put. Thank you, Cher. Thank you, Tony.
Jai Baba.
All right, we have Rosalie again. Rosalie, can we see you? Can you, there you go.
If you're lucky. You're lucky.
We're feeling lucky.
You could frame me. I want to show a couple of things. One of the things, well, first of all, Theus was born the year of the Chinese water rabbit, and he made it to the Chinese water rabbit to leave. He hightailed it out of here.
He did.
I had just moved in, being his neighbor, and he was never here. He was being rehabilitated for the other side. Now, I did share something with Theus. I just kind of a painful history. And I have to show this. Lingonberries. This is a delicacy from Sweden. And I think of Theus and I thought, wasn't lingonberries for Theus, it was longingberries. I always think of him when I eat these lingonberries. I met him, I think he was just off the boat, as they say, and I experienced when he took someone under his wing, being on the other side of the wing. Whoa, he could be a real authority figure. Yeah, with me, he came on very sternly. It was strange and startling, and plus being kind of a kinky person, you know, that was over the top. Anyway, thanks to, that was in 1971, but one day I saw his beloved Rachel, ended up his beloved wife, walking in the meeting place at Mayher Center, and I just got this feeling I have to know that person. Only the second time in my life where I felt that. And so we became good friends, and they were just such a couple. They were such a couple in suffering. You know, it was just kind of uncanny. I was in their guest room maybe a couple of months before Rachel passed. Then Baba moved me up to Little River. But well, one of the things, Rachel helped me see the sweet side of Theus, because I had that authority figure of Theus in my, anyway, Theus used to make these beautiful clothes. He'd have them made out of silk in India. Now this is the angel Gabriel by Theus.
Beautiful.
And it's actually a fabulous coat. I'll model it.
Oh, beautiful. Oh. Now you must turn around. Right. There you go. Wow. Wow. That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. Unfortunately, it's kind of falling apart. So, is there a seamstress in the crowd? Yeah, I love it. And anyway, and I loved his little things he made. So full of Baba. So full of Baba. I remember someone saying one day to me, which I didn't appreciate, they says, anyone could do those.
Wow.
But Theus did them. And he had such a deep lovingness for Baba. It almost was a bit frightening or something. Just, I guess that's what I felt from him. He was just kind of his passion, deep feeling for Baba was kind of astounding. And then he had all this playfulness, you know, but, you know, he had a very deep love, no doubt about it. And I do remember that he was so thankful. And I think I kind of blocked the pain thing out, because it used to remind me when I was with Rachel and Theus, and they're both in bed and whatever, sometimes celebrating their birthday. The last year Rachel's was celebrated, they were all in bed, and it reminded me of Willy Wonka and the chocolate factory, you know, waiting for your ticket out. And he got his ticket. And I thought he was very brave towards the end. I thought, wow, either one of them, it would have been painful, you know, to see the other one go on, even though, you know. And for me, I thought, good on you, as the Australians say, when Theus hopped out, because, well.
Oh.
Pretty lively, huh?
Oh, there's Lucy. Lucy.
I out of here. I'm out of here. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Rosalie.
That's how to lose a good neighbor.
Oh. There, are you wanting to say something? Looks like you might be.
I wanted to say hi to Lucy. I see a Lucy there.
Jai Baba, everyone. Thank you, Cher. And I want to say a special thank you to Tony and Cher for it moves me to tears, actually. All the loving care you gave Theus for so many years, and Rachel too. You made their lives possible for what they wanted to stay in their home. And I think we all have such gratitude for your care and love to both of them, and Laura too. So thank you for that. And also, it was wonderful to see that video of Theus. I told Cher, I don't often have this experience when someone passes, but I spoke with Theus on the phone a lot in the last few years because I moved far away and because of COVID. And I still think, oh, I'm going to call Theus. And then I remember, no, I can't call him on the phone anyway anymore. And someone said, and I'll second that. When I heard he passed, I was like, thank you, Baba. I celebrate for you, your wish and your journey to Baba, which is what your heart desired at this point in life. And he was a wonderful friend, and people have done a wonderful job of telling about who he was. And I'll risk one repeating something that anyone who spoke to him on the phone would say. I just would love to hear him. And I'm not a good imitator, but I'll try. You call Theus and he go, yeah, hello. And I just love to hear that. And I get it. Yeah, hello again. And whenever we ended the phone call, he would say Jai Baba, and Rachel always said, bye for now. That was Rachel's thing, bye for now. So I'd say bye for now, and Jai Baba, and then I could hear him in the end say Meher Baba, which someone said. We'd hang up, he'd go Meher Baba. So thank you all. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Lucy.
Lucy, it's Rosalie. I wanted to say, if you smell the fragrance of your hands, you will smell all those lovely flowers that you sent to Rachel and Theus, because I so enjoyed them too. And I know that made Theus happy to see Rachel. So she loved beauty, both of them. Anyway, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, thank you, Rosalie. That's really sweet.
And Lucy, as Laura and I have been cleaning out the house and, disposing of everything, I think they kept every card you ever sent. There were hundreds. We'd go through a stack of things and it would be Lucy. They loved those cards, and you put little pictures of Baba, and you did all these little things on top of the pictures glued on, and they saved them all.
Well, thank you. I had a lot of fun doing those. It was like being with Baba, sitting there and doing a little collage with Baba's pictures. So thank you.
Well, I know how they appreciated them because they couldn't part with them.
Thank you.
I think we're winding to a close here. It's wow, what a love fest. Thank you all. Thank you, Baba.
Baba.
Yeah, we spent a little time with Theus in 1987, and yeah, he's a memorable guy for sure. I thought we'd have just a few moments of silence before we go. So let's do that. Let's see. Jai Baba. We usually conclude with 3 Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. So join me if you would, if you'd like to unmute. Avatar
Meher
Baba.
Meher Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba. Avatar Meher Baba.
Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Baba.
Thank you, Baba.
Thank you, Baba.
Oh, he must be. So happy. Wow.
Thank you.
Baba. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba.